Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome to our very first edition of our newsletter for 2022. This year we're planning to conduct a lot more interviews with people who are leaders in their field, and if there are any particular topics you would like to hear about, please just let me know. We wanted to start this year with what we believe will be the main design trends for aged care facilities in 2022 and certainly beyond. In our work nationally and internationally, there are always common denominators, and that is what has guided our Fiddes predictions for what we believe are important and will be the four main trends. The first trend has to be sustainability. Sustainability is on everyone's mind, and more companies are getting on board. A very simple definition of sustainability is meeting your own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In other words, we need to look after our planet, otherwise future generations won't have one that is livable. Now, how does that relate to what we do in design? Well, there are many companies that are producing interior products that are sustainable, which is fantastic. So whilst at Fiddes we will always consider sustainable products, it really is so much more than that. We also look at how products can be repurposed. When we conduct an audit, we review everything and look at what is worth reusing or repurposing. In other words, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. And of course, the added benefit to our clients is that it can save money and hopefully make their budget go a little further. You would be surprised at what can be repurposed or reused. The second trend is outdoors. We're a nation that enjoys the outdoors, but unfortunately, we don't seem to do it very well in aged care. Outdoor spaces needs to be comfortable and inviting for residents and families to want to use the space. This means that the architecture and landscaping is so important because we don't want to create hot boxes that no one will use. There also needs to be better connection from the indoors to the outdoors, both physically and visually. There's plenty of research available telling us how our health will improve if we spend more time outdoors. So we need to see this area as a priority in design. I've spoken in more detail about the outdoors in a previous series with some tips and ideas. So if you can't locate it, please feel free to get in touch with me to discuss further. Now, the third trend is Biophilic. Now, I can hear you all saying, not that old chestnut again. And there is no doubt that it has been bandied around a lot in the past few years. But what I'm talking about is slightly different. And the fact is, nature is important to us all. A leader in this research is Roger Ulrich, who is an architect and professor at the Centre of Healthcare Building Research at Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden. I would recommend having a read of his research. It is really worthwhile, and it may even change some of your ideas about the importance of the outdoors, both visually and physically. However, what I'm talking about is so much more than just adding greenery and having better connection between the indoors and outdoors, even though that is very important. Many believe that the idea of biophilia stems back to cavemen days, when our dwellings were closely tied to the elements. We settled on terrain that protected us from predators, and we huddled around fires. No wonder when we see a fire, whether it is real or not, you still go to warm your hands. I know I've certainly made that mistake on many occasions. So when we're designing spaces, it is important that we have areas where residents can feel protected, whether that is inside or out. Large open spaces can make us feel vulnerable and exposed, so considering smaller rooms and spaces for residents to be able to access is so important. It's actually a primal need. So biophilia design is very complex, and there are far more layers than just having more greenery and better connection to the outdoors. However, as I said, that is a great start. And finally, the fourth trend is wellness. This industry is booming and growing rapidly, and new wellness products and services are hitting the market every day. This is exciting because some of the products available are definitely suitable for aged care, such as the Dream Pad. But many of the standard practices of wellness are difficult to include in aged care due to residents' very high care needs. Wellness is defined as the act of practicing healthy habits on a daily basis to attain better physical and mental health outcomes, so that instead of just surviving, you're actually thriving. So how can that be translated into an aged care setting? There is a bit of conjecture as to how many types of wellness approaches there are, but they vary anywhere between 4 and 12. The standard 6 are based around things such as physical, spiritual, emotional, social, occupational, and intellectual. But they go even further to break them down into things such as love, breathing, sensing, eating, moving, feeling, thinking, playing, working, communicating, intimacy, finding meaning, and transcending. And I think it's these interpretations that are probably more appropriate for aged care residents. The use of healing or singing bowls may have once seemed extremely alternative, but are now being used as a therapy in aged care settings. Some time ago, I actually visited a dementia facility in the southwest where they were actually using the healing bowl as a therapy. Both my husband and I sat in on the experience with the residents. My husband actually went to sleep, and I noticed a remarkable difference in many of the residents after the session. In fact, I was really interested to see that most of the residents remained seated throughout the whole session, and everything was peaceful afterwards, including my snoring husband. Now, obviously, there are programs already within aged care that encourage healthy living, such as the availability of allied health services, doctors, optometrists, dentists, physiotherapists, dietitians, and exercise programs. However, what we are talking about here in a design sense is designing spaces and having suitable products to allow independent activities, which also takes the pressure off the staff. These spaces can fulfill emotional, sensing, feeling, intellectual thinking, and even playing needs. Currently, we are actually designing some really interesting spaces for a project that definitely fulfill a wellness approach. So please feel free to contact me should you wish to explore this further. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope all of you will adopt some of our trends for 2022. So once again, I wish everyone a very happy and safe new year, and I'll see you next month. Thanks very much for listening. Bye for now.